Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. Remember, you can call us. We are here in the studio live. 800-808-5548. Can you believe it? This is actually live radio going on. A live show going on. So if you have a question about real estate, you have a question about what you want to plan for 2014, questions about credit, about real estate, about mortgages, changes, opportunities, threats. I tell everybody the SWOT analysis that we always do. We are here and available to answer any of those phone calls for you. So, right now, let's introduce our guest.
Referring to slapping me.
Let's introduce our guest right here. We have Lauren, and I don't want to mispronounce your last name, but Friese?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Lauren Friese, Texas Real Estate and Company. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. So we're talking a little bit about 2013. Obviously, Rob just got through going over all the numbers. How have you seen it out there? Let's not just numbers, but feet on the street.
Feet on the street.
There's a lot of multiple offer situations, and I have to prepare my buyers with the mentality that when we're looking at properties, you need to pick your top three. When we put our offer in, our offers need to be cleaned. You cannot ask, for a lot of closing costs. If it's in multiple offers, you're going to be expected probably to pay more than sales price if you really want this home, and to put the strongest offer in. And they also have to make decisions quickly, so they really have to have their goals, their priorities, everything together, and also have to be pre-qualified and working with their mortgage officer. And so I do communicate with the mortgage officer to make sure that we're all on the same page. So when we present our offer, we have the strongest and one of the best offers.
Now, what is pre-qualified? I just want to know what pre-qualified means, because I'm always on my soapbox in regards to what a pre-qualification truly is.
Or pre-approval.
Pre-approval, that is correct.
Sorry. I always interchange it, but pre-approval. I need that letter.
That was a trick question.
I know. I saw it. I need them pre-approved. I need that letter from their mortgage officer saying X amount of dollars they can afford, and we'll work in that ballpark.
Right.
So when we submit the offers, normally when I submit offers, I want the offer price that we submit and the pre-approval letter to match.
Right. And you mentioned a clean offer. A clean offer is, for all those listening out there, it's individuals who have been pre-approved. And pre-approved just doesn't mean running credit. This is a little my soapbox. It means actually showing W-2s and paychecks and have the whichever loan officer you're working with verify that information up front. That doesn't mean they're going to ask you for a ton of paperwork afterwards, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to go through the whole process of getting a loan, but it's part of that cleanliness you talked about. The other part is understanding. I love what you said is have in mind what your goal is, and have in mind understanding that if it's a multiple property or multiple offer situation, know what you have as a goal going in, what your ability to move up or down or move away, because sometimes the best moves individuals can do sometimes is walk away.
Well, also they need to put backup offers in, because I had a contract that went into contract on December 30th and we closed on December 27th.
Right.
It's a 7-day contract. It was a cash buyer, but what happened is that basically it was a backup offer that we put in. The first contract fell out, and that is still happening. And those realtors, they will go down their list and start calling people that they knew were interested or were part of the multiple offer situation.
Right.
So that's the best thing for your buyers. If this because they find a property that's option pending, or they are in multiple offers, still put that offer in. Get it out there so that the realtor knows that these people are really truly interested, and they can look at these people's pre-approval and see these people are serious.
Right.
Because there's also a small chance that first contract doesn't go through, and your realtor will get that telephone call. So they can end up getting the home they want.
Of course, what that does for the first contractors, they don't really have a lot of negotiate. If they're going to come back for repairs or anything like that, and their seller's like, well, I've got a backup offer, I'm probably not going to do those repairs. So if you're in the first position on a contract, and you know that there's a second contract, you might want to come back and say, what, I can live with this, but prioritize whatever you're going to have to do. If you're going to get again, we're talking about goals today. If you're going to get a house in this market, you're probably going to have to acquiesce on some issues.
Right. Oh, I would absolutely agree. And a lot of times, also know that going into multiple offer, one of the things that we're seeing a lot, especially on the multiple offer side, and Lauren, you can talk to this as well, is, you want to listen to your real estate agent in this offer process, because sometimes you can actually make an offer in which, if your financing is very tight and it doesn't appraise, you might not have the difference to bring. And so, a lot of times financing can fall through, not because of a qualification issue, because of a property value issue, right?
Yes.
And we've been seeing some of that, right, Lauren?
Oh, yes, especially with how the market has changed and is moving so fast, and especially in certain areas where the prices have been a little bit depressed. And now there's this, we have a lack of properties on the market, and the demand is so high, people are willing to overpay.
Right.
There's multiple offers, numerous ones I've gone in. People are paying $15,000 plus over listing price.
Yep.
And it's an area you would never think that people would pay that much. But the demand is there. And yes, the appraisal is a huge issue. That's one thing that I know a lot of realtors, not just myself, we kind of get concerned about when we get that stage of, the contract.
Right.
Right before closing.
Right. And the good thing, though, is, we saw a little bit of an issue for a couple of months there, I want to say for about 4 or 5 months, in which appraisals were struggling. And now we've been seeing, especially November and December, we haven't been struggling on appraisals like we have before, because finally it seems like
It's
the
caught
market's
up.
Number. I was just going
starting
to
to
ask
being caught
how
up.
that the appraisals. This is something I'm not familiar with on that side, because this is such a bizarre thing where we're we're paying over property prices now. That's such a new thing to Houston. When a property has appraised at X number and ends up getting offers well over it, and the person has to come to the table with cash on hand, on the appraisal side, that price that they paid will reflect in the appraisal.
Absolutely.
How long down the road? I mean, immediately when they start pulling comps.
We work on
6 months from now.
We work on historic
Historical
data
for 6 months.
They go back 6 months, but they prefer to go back 3 months.
Correct.
If they can get good data within 3 months, or appraiser will choose to do that.
So
absolutely.
the next, if 2 or 3 homes sell in a neighborhood overpriced, by 10%, then 3 months down the road, these, the next ones that sell are catching up.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it also depends because,
Educational for me.
Yeah. But one of the things,
about
for
Joe.
example, that happened the other day is there was a multiple offer situation. There were some really good comps. There was 2 other homes that were in the multiple offer situation. But unfortunately, there was also a lot of homes that sold that were not in a multiple offer situation. They were a little bit worse quality, et cetera, et cetera. So unfortunately, it takes a little while for a community, a subdivision or community to sort of catch up right there. Because just because you have 1 or 2 really good homes within a community of 300 homes, there's a lot to choose from. So that's sort of what the lull was, I think, for a little while, is it took people a little while to price it out right. You had multiple offer situations on certain homes. And so now we're starting to see that a lot of that's starting to be caught up a little bit. And it's definitely impacting now that you can go in and offer correctly. I've always been of opinion that the true market value of a home is what a buyer and seller are willing to pay for it,
Willing
right?
seller, willing buyer, neither being under duress.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is what market value is. I want to give a hypothetical to Lauren as to, you've got somebody that has a house to sell because they want to move up or move down, either way. So talk about what you're going to tell them about putting their house on the market and then finding a new home.
To put in their house on the market and find a new home, well, I'd walk through and see about the presentation to make sure it's put together well. And because you don't want a house that has filled with clutter. Then also we look at the quality of the home to make sure we can price it right. And we'll pull, of course, the market comps and see where the market's going. I also look at the pending sales because it also shows kind of how fast the market is moving in that neighborhood. And we'll come back and I'll talk to them. And normally when I ask for the pricing, I don't go and tell them what price I'm going to list their house at. I get their feedback. I present my data. I give them a range, and then they will tell me what price that they will list their home at. And then I have them start focusing on where they want to be because we're talking about the future. I don't need them being so emotional about a house in the past that they mess up a transaction because they're so emotionally attached to some home that they were in. And because there's times that people get really great offers, and I've had this. People get really great offers on their homes, but they get kind of prideful, or they have this emotional sentiment attached to the home, and they can't let it go for $5,000 less, or whatever it is, or maybe even $10,000 because they're so attached to the past and they're not focusing on the future. And I have found that if I keep people focused on the future, they keep going forward, and they're excited about the future. So it's easier to let go of these properties. And it's even with the buyers when they start in their mindset and goal setting. It's like when I present their offers, I kind of give a little brief history to the other agent about what they're going to do, what their idea about the home is, but also make sure my offers, they're pretty clean. They're not going to ask for a lot of money in closing costs. They're not going to ask for home warranties if it's not needed. If they're already going in there with the mindset.
There's no reflection on OneGuard, which we think you need on every transaction, is a new OneGuard home warranty.
That is correct, absolutely.
But I'm saying not ask for the seller to pay it.
One of our sponsors.
I'm not asking for the seller to pay it. Just
Right.
when you go in there, make your offer where it's, the seller is to be willing to get in contract, because once you're in contract, that's where you have the property locked in. Then you have the option period to go back and negotiate repairs. And then you can go back and maybe get more stuff done in the repairs or get money accredited to the price or whatever if you don't come up out front asking for everything under the sun. So it's a different strategy.
It's a negotiation strategy.
Yeah.
Right now we're in a seller market,
Right.
And you're describing it being more malleable as a buyer.
Yeah, but you got a seller who's is also becoming a buyer.
That is
Exactly.
correct.
And when they get attached to the home, like Lauren was talking about, is you have to go back and revisit their goals. It's like, look, you've told me this is what you want, and this is why you're moving, because this no longer fits your needs.
But here's something also I was going to ask Lauren, because this is, let me know how true this is, right? Is you have a buyer, you have a seller who's really attached to the home.
Mm-hmm.
How often is it true that the first offer is generally one of the best offers out there?
That is more true than what you expect.
Right.
It really is.
And the reason
how
I was
that
saying that
works.
because, a lot, that's the old adage, is generally speaking, your first offer is, and let me tell you, I've sold 2 homes in the past 10 years. I was one of those prideful sellers and said, there is no way I am taking this offer.
How'd that work for you?
And in both cases, 9 months later, I took an offer that was lower. Okay? And then, now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't in this market that we're in right now, right? So I want to preface that. What I'm saying, though, is it more often than not, and Lauren can answer this, it's true, isn't it?
Yes, it is true. And also with sellers, just because we're in a seller market, you're right. Do not be too prideful. Focus on your goals, where you're going, because then they'll be happier. It'll be a smoother transaction, and they'll get to the place they want to be instead of 9 months later saying, man, I really wish I was in my new house. And
Yeah, it's. I was going to say it's not the thing itself to get attached to the sticks and the bricks emotionally. It's not about that. It's about why you're going to there. So, this show is focusing on goals. What is your goal? If you're selling your house, then you have a specific goal. You have something that you're shooting for. And if your need to hang on to the sticks and bricks of where you're at is superseding your goal of where you're headed to, that's a problem.
And in part of the goal setting this year, we know when we come back, I know we're getting close to a break again, is that we're going to probably talk about what rates might do. I want you to prognosticate a little bit, Chris, because I think we're seeing.
Prognosticate.
Yeah, that was a big word.
You have that on rental from the
I'm
library.
going to prognosticate in the next, right after
That's
the
right.
break. That will be fun, won't it?
I checked that word out on a 3-day rental.
But it's something I think is when we're talking about goal setting, and if you're a seller, that's one thing. But if you're become a buyer and you've got a certain time that you want to meet, I want to be in by time the summer's over. We're going to put the kids in school, in a new school type of thing. So you have to start looking at it. If you're looking forward to buying a house and say your goal's in June, what might we be seeing at that time?
I would agree. We are coming up against a break, but Lauren, you gave some great information. How can we reach you if we have one of our listeners who wants to call you and list or buy a new home?
well, my phone number is 832-561-9018, and I answer my phone all the time. Or you could email me at lauren@Texas Real Estate Company.
TXRECO.com.
Yes, I always change that up. I'm seeing if you're listening.
So again, you can reach Lauren at 832-561-9018. She's not going anywhere. She's staying here. The problem is we are coming up against a break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back.
I'm like an ocean wave that's bumping.